Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
And good morning, Central Louisiana, and welcome to Talkback. I'm your host this morning, Sandra McQueen. Joining me in the studio today as co-host is Nathan Martin. Good morning, Nathan.
Good morning. How are you, Sandra?
Oh, good. How are you?
I am doing very well. I am, and I mean, it's not a manic Monday, but it kind of is for me because I don't come in on Mondays. So I enjoyed listening to you and Al yesterday, chit-chatting about all this happenings around.
And we had a good visit. I would have liked a longer segment with Senator Cassidy. We had a lot of things we wanted to get to. And then, of course, Matt Ritchie's always informative and interesting when he's on. But how was your Easter?
It was great. We had kind of a low-key as far as family goes. But didn't do big stuff. I heard, you talked about your first Easter without all the Easter baskets and all that stuff. But, there was something simple about it. It was nice and wonderful service. Church was packed. A lot of people were there enjoying the celebration. And so the weekend went very, very well.
Yes. Yeah. What aspect of the Easter story did you preach on?
It's kind of hard to miss the resurrection,
Yes.
I took it, my title was This Changes Everything. That was, kind of a simple title, I guess, but talked about, not only the resurrection for salvation, which is certainly the central feature of it, but I really spent some time talking about Peter and his denial and the restoration of that and how, those who, we're despairing on Sunday morning, we're certainly rejoicing. God does some of his best work in the dark, in our darkest hours, God's still at work. So kind of just trying to it was a pretty simple message,
Absolutely.
You don't have to go for the fences, when the ball's on the tee.
No, you don't. But then there's also you've got to find a new way to bring new inspiration and into the story. So that's got to be hard after all these years of preaching to not repeat.
Well, I'm on 40 years of full-time preaching. So, I preach that message a lot, but I love it because just getting to, I talked about, I use this phrase, and maybe I shouldn't have, but I said, but Jesus didn't cancel Peter, he commissioned him. And we have a tendency to cancel people when they mess up, right? But God still had purpose for his life, even though Jesus had said in Matthew, if you deny me, I'll deny you. And Peter denied, exact same Greek word, exact same word, and yet somehow it wasn't a final denial. And I think I wanted to give hope to people who've messed up. There have been people who've made some mistakes, and they're trying to figure out what to do now, what happens after I mess up. And Peter had probably one of the biggest mess ups of all. When that rooster crowed, he knew it. And so there's so much hope in the story overall for us in every aspect of our life. And my closing question was, what needs to be resurrected in you? What's the calling? What's the dream? What's the vision? What's the hope? What's the, thing what needs to be resurrected? Because Jesus can do that. So that was kind of my story.
Absolutely. Well, and Peter wasn't the only one. There was only, I think, one at the foot of the cross.
John was the only one there. Yeah.
So,
and I pointed that out, that only Mary was there, and I talked about Mary's agony. I mean, she was there, right? She was there, and Jesus specifically says, "Woman, behold your son; son, behold your woman," giving care to John for his mother. But can you imagine? I mean, just the agony of that, of her seeing her son. It's just. We need to sometimes, because it's such an old story, we are so familiar with it, go to a passion play, go to the Messiah, the Pentecostals, go remind yourself of the beauty and the power of the resurrection. So
absolutely. Well, thank you. No, I was just curious because I think that's got to be, you're right. It's a well-known story, but hard every year I would think to find that sort of message that is important for the times. And
I'll tell you, the one that's hard for me is the Sunday after. It's like, now what? and I use that a lot. I was like, okay, now what?
So when we lived out in Tahoe, the Methodist church we went to there had a tradition, and I guess it's a long tradition. It was new to me, but they called the Sunday after Easter Holy Humor Sunday with the idea that that Christ and Christians are laughing at the devil for his failure, and so the whole service was designed to be very humorous and really very celebratory. And so I actually had the fortune, the privilege of delivering the Holy Humor message. I think I did it for 3 or 4 years, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, you just given me, I'm making notes right now. I may have something to preach on next Sunday.
Absolutely.
I love that.
There
Holy
you
humor.
go. Yeah. So and of course, being out west where they were smitten and curious about the Southern way of life, most of my messages related around Southernisms. So just to educate the folks a little bit. So let's go to the phones here right off the bat. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Good morning.
Nothing wrong with Southernisms. I love Southernisms. But I like when I'm reading the scriptures, especially when I was teaching to my kids. We're having family Bible studies. I like to look at the regular people and look at what that event looked like from the eyes of the regular people. And, those Jews, the Jewish hierarchy, the power stars, they were intent on destroying Christ. They said, look, after Lazarus was raised from the dead, it says it in John, they said, look, this guy is, if we don't stop him, the Romans are going to come and take away our place, our country and our place. They didn't want to lose their place of power. And they even plotted to kill Lazarus. That's how far they were going to go. Now, what were they going to do? Were they going to also go and kill that widow's son that Jesus came upon the funeral procession and had pity on her and raised her son from there? Were they going to kill him? Were they going to kill that little girl that Jesus raised from the dead? I mean, these people had a vehement hatred of Christ. But not all of those priests were with them. We know that a few bully people can drive a group of people. And so I like to think of the regular priest. And we know that there were some of them that believed, because Nicodemus came to Jesus by night. And so we knew there were some that had an interest in him. Some maybe even believed in him, but they were not willing to give up their position. So just think of what they were doing. Because while this procession is going out of town, he was crucified outside of town, this was Passover. This was their Christmas, man, biggest day of the year. So they were in the temple, trying to be about their business, trying to put out of their mind what was going on the other side of town, because they know that is injustice. They know that man has done 3 years of nothing but good, and yet my group that I have control of it is my group. They're putting in the death, and I'm sure they were trying to pour themselves into their work, meeting the Jewish people that were coming from all over the world. Oh, you came all the way from Damascus. The Lord will be pleased with you. You came from Spain. Wow, what a pilgrimage. And then that veil started to rip. That veil between the Holy of Holies and the Holiest of Holies. Veil, I don't know the truth about it, because I've heard stories that it was up to a foot thick, but I know the Jews went all out for everything to honor God. And so when that veil started ripping, can you imagine that was the sound of thunder within that building? And those people would have been, there were some people who have probably came to Jerusalem and said, hey, we've been hearing about this. We haven't been able to come for the last 4 or 5 years. We've been hearing about this guy. Do you know? And, can you imagine the guilt those priests would have felt? Yeah, I know who you're talking about. We're over there killing them right now at this moment. But at 3 o'clock, when it was time to start to slay the Passover animals, that veil ripped and the earth quaked and people started coming out of the tombs. Can you imagine what these people thought? And there's a little note, I think Acts 6-7 maybe, where it says, and many of the priests believed. I bet a lot of the priests believe. So anyways, I like to look at it from the point of regular people, because I'm a regular person. And there had to be a lot of because, you don't hear anything about the Jews from the time of the crucifixion, the 40 days that he was alive and operating again, and until after Pentecost. Do they try to get the disciples again? And I can imagine, they hired somebody. Hey, we hired a guy to kill this guy. And here he is walking around again. Now he's been seen by over 500 people at one time, it says at the end of John. We can't get our money back. Judas quit us. He killed himself. We got, they were in a pickle. We're in a real pickle. Anyways, I didn't mean to go on so long, but it is, we have so much to be thankful for. None of us deserve that grace. And anyways, thank y'all for talking about this. It's been a blessing to my heart.
Yeah, thanks for calling,
Thanks
David.
for your call.
Appreciate it.
All right, y'all have a great day.
The perspective. So, that could. I chuckle when he said we can't get our money back. He did throw the money back into the temple. Judas did, because he was overcome with grief. And there's so many great nuances in those stories that you could, when you start looking at the human element, And then how many times have preacher talked about you can't be a hidden disciple or a secret, Christian, and yet Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, who were secret followers, at the right time stepped up out of their comfort zone. And there's so many beautiful nuances in that story that can be brought out to bring us encouragement. I think it's why it's one of the most encouraging stories ever.
Absolutely. No, and you're right. I mean, the sort of the Joseph of Arimathea, all these sort of people that are named and in this story that we know so little.
Right. Simon of Cyrene.
But there was a reason they're named, and there's a reason they're important to the people who heard the early iterations of that story. So it's very fascinating. And one of the things I love too is that, we still celebrate this tradition, how many thousands of years. And even when I think about, we were talking about, the Passover celebration for those of the Jewish faith. And I always think how amazing that is that they're celebrating something and, that we celebrate in the book of Exodus and the histories and generations.
That's right.
Of that is just amazing to me.
And I said this Sunday, one of the struggles I have is when the authorities of the day took Easter and separated it from Passover to make it like a separate, fixed on the, I think it's the first Sunday after the full moon, after the spring, something like that, to kind of give it a more lunar or solar-based deal. And to me, we ripped it from its roots. We've got to be tied into Passover, or there is nothing. So, and I love y'all did the Passover Seder
meal,
night,
yes,
right?
And then there's a Good Friday service, which I think is always so important. I think you have to experience that grief of. To me, you experience the grief of Good Friday, and then Easter Sunday just takes on such a bigger meaning, at least for me. But anyway, let's do this. Let's go to the first break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Wall Street looked headed for a rebound at the opening bell as investors weigh progress on trade talks and wait for earnings from Tesla. Despite the move higher this morning, the conversation on Wall Street was still focused on the implications of any White House effort to replace Fed Chair Jay Powell, and stocks sold off yesterday to start the week. Both the Dow and the Nasdaq each fell by around 2.5%. The S&P 500 was down almost 2.4%. Gold today topped $3,500 an ounce for the very first time. The big drug maker Roche says it will invest $50 billion in the U.S. in the next 5 years, joining rivals as President Trump prepares to slap tariffs on pharmaceutical imports. The Swiss firm will expand and upgrade manufacturing and distribution capabilities in Kentucky, Indiana, New Jersey, Oregon, and California. Roche will also build a manufacturing plant to support the expansion of next-generation weight loss drugs, though it did not disclose the location. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
The Greenhouse presents Adopting a Pet. Have you been looking for love in all the wrong places? Then relax. The easiest way to find that special 4-legged friend you've been longing for is online at adoptapet.com. Adoptapet.com is North America's largest nonprofit pet adoption website, serving over 17,000 animal shelters, humane societies, and pet rescue groups. Just type in your zip code and be amazed. Adopt a Pet at adoptapet.com.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Talkline at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. Talkback.
And we're back. And let's see. So we finally got a little background information. We were waiting to come in so we can talk about some of the things that are happening today. But before we dive into that, I want to let you know our app is being worked on. And so we know that some of you that like to listen through the app are having a little challenge this morning. We know that is in process and being worked on. And we should have mentioned joining us at 8:05 is Dr. Abbey Bain. She is with LSUA. She's going to come in for their monthly segment, and she is the Vice Chancellor of Enrollment and Student Engagement. So we'll catch up with her on all things happening at LSUA.
That's a fancy title, and she works hard for it. Dr. Carell had messaged me that she was coming in, and you could tell the glee. He knows she represents so well, and I've had the good fortune, the blessing to be affiliated with them the last couple of years with their basketball, and have gotten a closer view of what's going on out there. Man, they've got some amazing things happening at LSUA. I think their goal was 5,000 students by this year, and they're over 7,000. And there are some sad golfers out there right about now because, the golf course will be going away, and Dr. Baines will be talking about that. But there's some amazing things happening at LSUA. I think it may be the third largest college in the state of Louisiana now in terms of enrollment. It's in the top 5.
Don't know. I'd have to, we'll Dr. Bain will be able to tell us the answer to that question when she comes in. But no, she's delightful and really represents the type of young professional and young family that we're trying to recruit and keep in this community. So I'm anxious to have her in the studio today.
I hear we're going to have Dr. Noah Smith come back in not before long. He's a new doctor at the clinics, they're one of the regular sponsors. And same type thing, a young guy who recruited to come into the community, and it's so exciting to hear those stories of people that are choosing the smaller town on purpose. They know they're just a couple hours away from big city stuff, but they can enjoy the 10-minute commute to work, and the gridlock may take them 15 minutes type thing. So
catch one light wrong, it could be 15.
That's true.
It's usually 8 or 15, depending on how I catch one light. So, but it's been nice with school out this week. I get to the station in record time.
By the way, there's a big revival going on tonight, tomorrow night, and Thursday night at Mount Zion Baptist Church on Rapides. It's the citywide revival. It's like the 61st or 62nd annual.
I know we've had them in here before to talk about that.
Yeah, and so that's going on this week. They've got Dr. Tellis Chapman from Detroit, Michigan, and I'll be attending the next 3 nights. I always enjoy, it's a different cultural experience. Of course, the Black Baptist worship experience is its own thing. I mean, there's a Pentecostal experience, a Methodist experience, but that experience is lively. The sermon is a conversation between the pastor and the congregation. And the choir.
I was going to say the music's usually over the top amazing.
Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that this evening, and it's usually a packed house. You usually have to get there early to get a seat, so that's going to be fun.
That's on my bucket list for one of our visits, to see my son in New York, because where he is in the Morningside community, they're just right up against Harlem. And last time we were there, we stayed in Harlem and around all of those just unbelievable historic churches, and it was all I could do not to be there on a Sunday morning. I had to catch a plane to come home,
Goodness.
I'm going to plan. That's on my bucket list during his 4 years there, to make sure we have a chance to attend one of those churches.
Well, there's some great, they've had great impact. I'm trying to remember, I think Dietrich Bonhoeffer spent some time in some of those churches when he was studying in New York.
Correct.
And it had a deep impact. He goes back to Germany, and there's a movie out about him. So like Pastor, Spy, I forget the subtitles. And he's one of the pastors who took a strong stand against Hitler and got executed for it. But his religious views impacted his daily views to the extent that he could not be silent. So thank God for again, tracing that influence back. I think it may have been Union Theological Seminary. I'm trying to remember. I read his book. The Eric Metaxas book about Bonhoeffer was phenomenal.
All right, I'm going to have to put that one on my list. Yes, and so where Matt's in school, there's another historic church called Riverside Church, and it was one of the first integrated churches in New York, but it was a church that Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at several times. They had a national radio broadcast that he would participate in, and so they do some of the programs, concerts that Matt's involved with at that church. And the last one of my trips there, we had a chance. They have kind of a historic wing of the church where they've got it just bulletins and news clippings and photographs, and we just kept going, oh my gosh, can you believe this? And it was really neat to know the history of that church and its role in the civil rights movement, even from New York. So it was fascinating.
That is cool. I mean, those kinds of tie-ins, and when you can bring in some history. There's a church here, I think it's Second Union Baptist Church was founded in 1865, and it's named Union Baptist Church because of the, it's obviously it's a church that was founded by freed slaves here in Central Louisiana. I think it's the first one founded in Rapides Parish, and so kind of a neat tie-in there.
Yeah, neat tie. I mean, great history in our churches.
Absolutely.
And of course, the Catholic Church is about to make history again with a new pope.
Right, everybody would be looking for the white smoke down the road. Of course, we have we want to pay our respects in the proper way. The funeral announcements are being discussed and should be announced perhaps later today. And I was listening coming in to a discussion of who's kind of in the running. They listed kind of like the top 5 cardinals who are under consideration, and it's certainly a very important decision for that College of Cardinals coming up. And the question will be, will the successor follow in the steps of Francis, who seemed to be a little more progressive, or will there be a return to a more traditional view? I heard something I've never heard before, tradcath. Tradcath is a phrase they used, and it talked about traditional Catholics. And apparently in Europe, there's a big movement among young people to go back to the traditional Catholic views of things. And so that's sort of a resurgence that they were talking about. Very interesting to see the Catholic Church. I think one of the leading cardinals in contention is from Africa. I heard they spoke with, had a little interview with him on there, and so it'd be interesting to see where the next pope comes from.
No doubt, and if I don't know if you've seen the movie Conclave, which is, and so evidently in our show prep, they said the streaming demands for Conclave are over the top right now.
And I'm sure Angels and Demons is another one that's the Hollywood hyped version of it. But Conclave, wasn't that the one actually about the choice of this pope between Benedict and Francis?
No, there was another movie about that, but Conclave is it is about the replacement, but the whole conclave system with the way that vote on the first day, and then all the ballots are burned until and then you can do 4 rounds a day until you get a 2/3 majority, and so just sort of all the politics and inner workings. I'm sure it is like anything Hollywood stylized, but it had a lot, I think, elements of how the ceremony works behind the scenes.
Well, I actually listened to them this morning on one of the show preps I was listening to. It named 3 different movies that were, Hollywood versions. One was Conclave, one was Angels and Demons.
And then the one about, the two popes.
2 popes, yeah.
There you go.
That was the one with Benedict and Francis, And I remember thinking to myself, I'd like to watch. I'm really not.
2 Popes was fabulous.
I haven't seen it. I'm not into Angels and Demons. I wasn't a big fan of that guy's.
Of Dan Brown's work.
Yeah. So
actually, Angels and Demons was fine. I mean, it was a good. It's a good Dan Brown kind of history mystery kind of.
What was the other one he did that?
About with Mary Magdalene.
That supposedly Jesus had children with her.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. The Da Vinci Code.
There you go. Yeah. Testing my Dan Brown number. All right. Well, we'll take our next break and more with our conversation right after this.
KSYL.
For over 35 years, Security Metal Roofing has been Cenla's trusted name for metal buildings and roofing. When it comes to the highest quality materials at rock-bottom prices and top-tier service, nobody does it better. And don't worry, great prices doesn't mean cutting corners. Our Cool Chemistry color sheeting comes with a 40-year warranty, plus the peace of mind that comes with a team that has over 150 years of combined experience. From sheeting and red iron to roll-up doors and insulation, you get more for your money at Security Metal Roofing. Whether you need a new roof, carport, or are building your dream shop, we're here to help every step of the way. Apples to apples, we won't be undersold. And that's a guarantee. Call 445-0223 for your quote today, or visit us at Security Metal Roofing on Masonic Drive in Alexandria, or online at securitymetalroofing.com. Security Metal Roofing, your local experts in metal roofing and buildings, where quality, service, and price come together.
Attention all real estate agents, property owners, and lenders. When you or a client needs a real estate attorney, call the professionals at Thompson Law Firm. Whether the legal matter is basic or complex, the Thompson Law Firm can accurately guide you or your client to a successful outcome. That's why numerous industry professionals have trusted the Thompson Law Firm for years. They also handle estate planning, successions, and business law. Call them at 473-0052. I am a paid non-client attorney spokesperson.
Jeff Landry is working hard to bring down outrageous insurance costs. Jeff is holding both trial lawyers and insurance companies accountable because they are both to blame. Last year, Governor Landry signed 27 bills to fix insurance and fight lawsuit abuse. This year, Governor Landry is fighting for more to stop frivolous lawsuits, stop uninsured drivers from suing, and end trial lawyer ads that promote a culture of suing. Landry listened to insurance companies and signed into law nearly every bill they promised would drive rates down. Well, insurance broke their promise and rates went up. Now Landry is trying something new. Hold insurance companies accountable when rates go up. Our insurance commissioner should have the power to reject their rate hikes when they rake in billions in profit. To learn about Governor Landry's plan to fix our insurance crisis, visit fixthecrisis.la. Paid for by Protect Louisiana Values.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, April 26th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. 70 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. Now back to Talkback.
And we're back. Sorry, the music cut on me a little short there. Well, let's see. Today, April 22nd, a couple things in our show prep. Today is Earth Day. It's the 55th anniversary of Earth Day, and this year's theme is Our Power, Our Planet, with a focus on renewable energy.
And so the Alexandria Zoo is having Earth Day this Saturday. They're having a big gathering, inviting everybody to come out to team up to protect the planet. And so that's going to take place from 10 a.m. to 3. It didn't happen today because, they try to do it on weekend for kids and parents have work. But yeah, and that was, my understanding is that was one of Pope Francis's causes as well. He was big into that messaging of the earth, so protecting and being the caretakers of and curators of the earth. So good day today, and that you said
55 years. It started in 1970.
Well, I was around when it started.
As was I. So yes, yes, but there's been years I feel like it's been bigger celebrations. I think certainly when it falls on a weekend, it gets a lot more attention. So, but one of the things I was reading about Earth Day when they're again with their focus on our power, our planet, it was interesting that they noted that the two states in the U.S. that have the largest concentration of renewable energy are Texas and California. Okay. And so they just sort of made the point that two states that are probably politically diametrically different in every way, shape, or form have both made renewables a high priority. So that was an interesting fact. Yeah.
So that means that you can be on opposite sides politically, but still see a cause that's worthwhile. So that's good. That's another very interesting point. I know Louisiana has made a much bigger emphasis on keep Louisiana beautiful, cleaning up, which is very, very important. But on the other side, I was thinking about Representative Chuck Owen and his stance against the carbon capture, what he would call a boondoggle, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see if that takes off. I know the Clico diamond vault has not taken off, as apparently will, I don't know if it will or won't happen, but hasn't gotten much headway. And I think a lot of people are scratching their heads and we're going to take this stuff and put it in the ground. Won't it seep out? Won't it just, I
think and there's a lot of science behind if you have the right soil, rocks. My geology is not going to be strong enough to explain the chemistry behind the process, but evidently Louisiana's formations make it a strong contender for carbon capture. So, we'll see where that goes. Diamond Vault had the potential to be a huge capital investment for Clico, a lot of construction opportunities. But I know it was also very dependent on the tax credits in the IRA bill. So, which was the Inflation Reduction Act, which was really a Green New Deal bill. So, with a fancy name. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see. Oh, we've got the phones lit up now. I'm sure maybe these are some big Earth Day callers. We'll see what happens. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Yeah, I can't discuss organic chemistry before 10 a.m. But I did appreciate y'all's discussion earlier about nuances of the Easter story. And I thought about a couple. James Greer had a good one Sunday where he said when the women went to attend Jesus' body on Easter morning, they were there because the men were all hiding under their beds. So it's probably true. But one that I always liked was the accounting in Mark, where the women are there and they encounter the angel, and the angel says, "Go tell his disciples and Peter."
That's right. I used that Sunday.
Because
absolutely.
You did?
I did.
Nathan, it's so rich, man.
Absolutely.
And I'm just sad I didn't discover that until just recently. My whole life I've heard that story, but that God singled Peter out in the pits of his shame, that I am back and I am back for you. And we should all be encouraged by that.
Well, and that was the point I made earlier, that Jesus didn't cancel Peter. He commissioned him when Peter thought he had canceled himself. So, absolutely, that's one of the goosebump tending ideas of Easter.
It is indeed. Have a great day, y'all.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you for your comments. And let's go to the phones. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Well, I got something a little different. That's hard to follow. But I want to tell you this. J.D. Vance went to Europe recently. But, the day, it's kind of weird. He met with the Pope, and the Pope died. Something else happened. Charles Schwab, not Charles Schwab, but I can't hear that guy's name. He was the head of the Bank of International Settlement. He resigned on the same day. They're both globalists, big-time globalists. They were pushing a global agenda, both of them.
You said the Bank of International Settlements?
Yeah, he's the head of the Bank of International Settlements. And he resigned on the same day. That's kind of weird. Do you see what gold is doing?
I thought of you this morning when the gold price was announced. I thought our friend is going to call and remind us of some of his prior statements, because you're right, gold has gone through the roof.
Well, I think what's happening now, we're in the middle of we're at the beginning of the monetary reset. The American people cannot pay that money back, pay the debt back. So one way you're gonna pay it back is through debasing the currency and through inflation. That's what's happening. I think it is. I mean, everybody's going to get a lot poorer.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I can't disagree with you this morning on that.
Okay, have a good day.
Thank you. Yeah.
That was interesting. That is the way I found out. I know we got to take a break, but that is the way I found out that the Pope had died, is I saw a post that said, J.D. Vance visits the Pope and he died. That was literally, somebody had already made that connection that our caller just made. Because and so I didn't know the Pope had passed away. And I thought they were being goofy. And sure enough, it was.
Yeah, no, that came up quick yesterday morning just as we were getting ready for show prep. And even when you were listening to the Doc Radio News, CBS News, before we come on, they were talking about Pope's Easter celebration, or J.D. Vance visit, and had not, that was pre-recorded, and so the passing happened.
It was pretty quick. That's right.
So, all right, we'll take our last break of this hour, and we'll talk back right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics, with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
The cost of air travel is more than just the ticket price. It's also fuel, meals, lodging, parking, and time. Recalculating. The more we fly AEX, the better our chances of bringing back flights to Houston and Charlotte. Support AEX and help our community grow. Find your true cost at local.flyaex.org.
Deal deals are happening now. From instant savings on select tools to free battery offers on some of our most popular battery tool sets. You can enjoy great deals and do it all with Steel. Shop online or in store at your local Steel dealer. Offer valid for a limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
In Finlaw, keeping your lawn looking great can be a real challenge.
And that's why folks have been choosing our locally owned and operated company, Promo Fencing and Lawn Care. Promo can also be your local choice for fence installation and new landscape installs. They're real pros about it, too, offering free estimates and financing for those bigger jobs, residential or commercial. Bring your vision to life with Promo Fencing and Lawn Care. Call 318-452-6265.
Teens are using social media to buy what they think are prescription pills, like Oxy, Xanax, or Adderall. But these pills are actually made with a cheaper, stronger, and more deadly synthetic called fentanyl. You cannot see it, smell it, or taste it. Naloxone and fentanyl testing strips are available for free through many community service organizations to help prevent opioid overdose. Carry naloxone and know the signs of an overdose. If you or a loved one needs help, go to opioidhelpla.org. Brought to you by the Louisiana Department of Health.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
Okay. We'll try that button.
Yeah.
All right, maybe that was some odd feedback there. Sorry about that, folks. Hopefully it didn't go out over the air. Let's see. So in addition to today being Earth Day, one I did want to point out is that it is, and I lost my prep, School Bus Drivers Day. A chance to thank all the school bus drivers. That has to be one of the most thankless yet important jobs in our community.
And it takes such consistency too. Most of them, they're part-timers, but they got to do it twice a day. So you got to get up. I talked to a friend the other day. This is his last year. He been doing it quite some time, and he gets up at like 4 o'clock every morning, and makes sure the bus is prepped and heads out and he does his runs, and then the afternoon and goes and does it all over again. And he picks up for elementary, junior high, and high school. So he's got full routes. It's almost a full-time job considering as much as he drives, but it really breaks your day up. So you've got to be dedicated. It typically does take retired folks. That's why typically, not always, but oftentimes you'll find folks who are retired and they just want something to do. And he's acknowledged some of the difficulties with discipline issues today.
I can't imagine, because that's not their role as the driver, and yet what they have to put up with that is happening on so many of those buses, and yet we entrust them with the safety of transporting our children. I mean, I just can't think of a more important and, as I said, probably underappreciated job in this community.
Well, and so it's really good that they get that recognition. It says, if you think of trying to drive 30, 40, 50 kids, I can't handle the 2 of mine on a trip anymore. I'm too old for that. We're going to Mississippi in a couple of weeks, and I told my wife the other day, I said, I don't know what, I need to put muzzles or headphones, VR, something. I got to, because kids are kids.
Yeah. So, I think back in the day, what probably helped save us on a lot of our car trips was we had just a minivan, but it had the DVD system back when we had DVDs, and but the kids had little headphones they put on. They had a little screen that dropped down in the back seat, and it was wonderful. You just throw on a video, and you kind of feel bad. You're like, I'm letting them be a slave to TV. And we only let them use that system when we were on a long car trip. So it wasn't something not around town.
You see them now, individual screens. Everybody's watching their own thing. We made a trip years ago after I moved back from Mexico. A couple of years later, we drove back down. Where I lived is about 1,000 miles south of McAllen, Texas. So right where Mexico starts to come up to the Yucatan Peninsula, and it takes 2 days from McAllen to get there from the border. So it's 3 days from here. So I borrowed, my dad had a nice van that had a VHS player in it with a TV, and I listened to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, We Love You for 3 days going down, and that one, and The King and I, and The Sound of Music. And I couldn't see any of them because they're on the TV behind me, but I know every song from those because I listened to them over and over. But you know what? Those are precious memories.
They are. Yeah. No, that was the nice thing about this system is it had like a dual audio system in the car. So the kids had their headphones in their system, and John and I had the radio up front. Yeah. So we were quite spoiled with that.
There was no headphones. It was me listening to, The Hills Are Alive with The Sound of Music.
But I always laughed because John went out. We were just getting to that point where, our one car was getting, I think it was about 12, years old. It's like, okay, we're going to have to get a new car. And, I thought, okay, well, John's going out. He's going to find what he wants to drive at that time, it was just Stephanie around. And he's like, I found it. Come to the dealer. I want you to just take a look at it. And I show up, and it's a minivan. And I'm like, okay, I guess, most guys your age are buying something red and fast. Why are we getting a minivan? He said, look at these doors. Do you know how easy it is to get that kid in the car?
If you only had that 15 years earlier.
I know, right? So, anywho,
yes.
All right. Well, hour one is in the books, and when we come back at 8:05, we'll be joined in the studio with Dr. Abbey Bain, again from LSUA, and she is the Vice Chancellor of Enrollment and Student Engagement. So we'll look forward to our conversation with Dr. Bain when we come back.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenlaw Broadcasting. FM 104.9, AM 970, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3 HD3, Alexandria. It's 8 o'clock. This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. The Vatican says Pope Francis' coffin will be moved in a public procession from the chapel at his Santa Marta residence to St. Peter's Basilica tomorrow morning for public viewing. A funeral will take place Saturday. Then cardinals will decide on the next pope. The Archbishop of New York is looking back.
Cardinal Timothy Dolan remembers Francis talking about tenderness and love.
Pope Francis almost had like a radar for people who were left behind at the side of the road.
Dolan tells CBS News Francis was a great parish priest who believed a simple truth.
The best way I can convert souls is by touching hearts. Jesus did it, he did it.
As for choosing Francis' successor,
the Holy Spirit's already chosen the next pope. Our job is to find out who it is.
Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth defending against new calls for his resignation after a second Signal messaging chat was uncovered that shared war plans with his wife, his brother, and his lawyer. He tells Fox,
"You've got another allegation being pushed again, not based on how we're operating around here. We're for the warfighters, we're for the president, and none of this is based in reality."
U.S. futures are up almost 1% after major losses yesterday when President Trump called Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell a major loser for not lowering interest rates. Business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
Right now there is a trade that is going on, not just selling stocks, but also selling the U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar fell to its lowest level in 3 years. Usually when you have tariffs, the dollar rises. This tells us that the international community is selling America.
The Supreme Court hears arguments today in the case of some Maryland parents who weren't allowed to opt their kids out of public school programs in Montgomery County that include books with LGBTQ characters. Mom Billy Mojes says that violated her religious rights.
Pre-K and elementary school kids. These are not adults or young children in their youth who are matured enough that the parents have agreed to put in these classes.
A university in the South has issued a warning to students from overseas. CBS's Jim Krasula.
Duke University has sent out a notice advising its international students not to travel outside the U.S. over the summer break. The university says the advice applies to legal permanent residents and green card holders.
Swiss pharma giant Roche is responding to Trump tariff threats with plans to invest $50 billion in the U.S. over the next 5 years. The company says it'll create more than 12,000 jobs. It follows similar announcements by Novartis, Johnson & Johnson, and Eli Lilly. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at progressive.com.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Jeff Palermo. The Louisiana Department of Health has confirmed a second measles case in the greater New Orleans area. The first one was reported over the weekend, and state health officials announced a second one during a news conference yesterday afternoon. In both cases, the patient is an adult who recently traveled abroad. Louisiana Surgeon General Dr. Ralph Abraham says they know the first patient was not vaccinated, and they are not sure about the second patient. And Abraham is urging those who are not vaccinated against the measles to get vaccinated.
We like that MMR vaccine. We recommend it for our children, and it is a good vaccine. We want them to get it.
New Orleans Representative Mandy Landry will present a bill to the House Ways and Means Committee today that would increase the state's cigarette tax. Landry says that by increasing the tax, it will lower the smoking rate.
The research is crystal clear. It shows that when you raise the price a fairly significant amount, people start smoking less, and many actually take advantage of, there's many free programs to quit. So they have more money in their pocket, and the state as a whole is healthier.
LRN.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hunter with the clinics, where we pride ourselves in providing exceptional care. We offer a wide range of services, including primary care, family and chronic care, acute and urgent care, podiatry and gastroenterology, along with an on-site lab and x-ray. Our new family medicine physician, Dr. Noah Miller, is accepting new patients. Same-day appointments are available, and most insurance and Medicare are accepted. The clinic's Marksville, 4242 Highway 1192, 402-4073, online at theclinics.us.
Good morning, cloudy skies to start us out on this Tuesday, followed by the possibility of some scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. About a 60% chance of that. Afternoon high temps near 82. Increasing cloudiness overnight tonight. We'll see temperatures getting down to about 65 degrees. And then cloudy skies on Wednesday. A few showers developing late in the afternoon. The high's only 77. From the Sidlaw Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Big Ration. Currently 70 degrees in Sidlaw.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 27 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
And we're back for hour 2. Thanks for joining in. Sandra McQueen, Nathan Martin, and joining us in the studio is Dr. Abbey Bain from LSU of Alexandria. Good morning, Dr. Bain.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
We are very glad to have you in. So your title is Vice Chancellor of Enrollment and Student Engagement. Most of us probably understand what the enrollment side of that job is, but what does your office do?
I know that title just rolls right off the tongue. But no, it's really here to advocate for students. And I take that, very seriously. And it's also very humbling. But our student body, I'm their advocate to listen to their needs and represent those at the leadership table. So it's a very fun and fulfilling job, but they also keep me busy and keep me honest. So it's a great place to be. And obviously with growing enrollment, their needs and their wants and their challenges continue to grow too. So they're keeping me busy.
So with student engagement, is that the activities on campus? Do you have input into sort of academic conversations? Is there counseling, discipline? Kind of what all do you touch for the students?
Yes. So it starts with the enrollment, the recruitment, and the admissions, and then really all the student support areas, which we've really focused and grown because our students continue to need additional support to be successful. So our academic advising, our first year experience, orientation, residential life, the Student Health Center, our Children's Center also reports through me, Title IX. You mentioned student activities, student organizations, intramurals, all the fun side of the student experience we're extremely passionate about as well. So all of those areas kind of fall under student engagement.
Got it. No, that's very, very impressive and a huge job and division for you to run. So enrollment, catch us up on the numbers.
Yes. So right now we have over 7,000 students at LSUA. So just like, in the last, I would say 7 years, we really moved. If you looked at the rankings of undergrad enrollment of all the four-year universities, we were 13 out of 14. We are now the 5th largest university in the state of Louisiana. So when you really put it in that context, you can see just how much we have grown in undergrad enrollment. So we're larger than McNeese, we're larger than Northwestern, larger than UNO, larger than Southern in our undergrad enrollment. So we're extremely proud to see more students coming to LSUA.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that growth and the work of student engagement, because when you're a 3,000 person university or student university and 7,000, that's a very different university, a very different college experience. So how has your office grown, evolved, and changed to continue to meet the needs of the students and sort of support that growth?
It has been so much fun. And I think our what sets LSUA apart is really being in tune to the student voice. I think that is our brand, is really connecting with students, making sure that they are seen, visible, they are known on campus. So as we've grown, we've worked really closely with students through student government and different outlets to make sure we're familiar, what do you need? How are we continuing to really support you? We've focused a lot on growing student organizations. We know that's a huge part of the experience on campus. If they can make those connections in their discipline, whether that's joining a Greek organization, which we're really focused on growing, or joining the marketing club so they can join or meet with other students in that major, connect with those faculty in that discipline and help them professionally, really making sure when they leave LSUA, they have a comprehensive experience that they can bring to the table to prepare them for that career. We know it's not just the diploma that's going to get them the job, but that skill set, being able to communicate, those leadership skills, time management, those are the things that are going to make them a strong employee one day. And that really develops out of the classroom.
When you think about what you guys are doing in growth, I was reading, I said to Sandra, I thought y'all were the 5th largest, or 3rd largest, but I think it's the 5th. Is it what number do you rank out of all the upper institutions of education in Louisiana?
So when you look at undergrad enrollment only, because at LSUA we're focused on that undergrad student, we don't have master's programs. So if you just look at undergrad enrollment, we're the 5th largest.
That's amazing.
It is.
And so I know that Dr. Carell had announced that 5,000 goal for. Y'all killed it 2 years ago?
2 years early, yes. Yeah. And even I remember when Dr. Carell told me, it was in 2019, I became the Vice Chancellor, and we were really looking at goals and strategic, objectives for LSUA. And he said, I want us to set a really lofty goal. And let's look at 5,000 by 2025. It has a good ring to it.
5 by 25.
Let's go. And I remember having a big gulp, my heart drop moment. I'm like, let's go after it, sir. But I was hesitant. It was a hungry goal. And now looking back, we're like, man, we blew that out of the water. And so kind of people ask, what's next? And I'm not really sure. We haven't set necessarily a number. We are going to continue to grow, and the goal is to make sure that we're growing. And for me personally, the priority is ensuring that we're growing on campus, that enrollment population at LSUA. And we have seen growth there. Most universities, if you look at the trend in higher ed, most universities are really staying stable or even decreasing. And I'm sure, people hear there's the enrollment cliff, right? Not as many people are having children. The graduating classes are getting smaller. Not as many people are graduating high school. So that's our population, right? So if that's decreasing, institutions of higher ed have to get grittier and more aggressive to get those students at their universities. And so we are really focused on ensuring we get our students on campus as well to increase, which we have. Even this spring, we were up 10% on campus, which is amazing. Now, overall, we were up almost, 28%, looking at our online population too. But I think in the state of Louisiana last year, only a few increased, and the highest was like 3%, and we were, closer to 20%.
So you think about, you guys set that goal in 19, and then COVID rolls around.
Yes.
And I hate to say a perfect storm, but you guys were prepared for digital learning from a distance, virtual education, and I think that has partially propelled the explosiveness of growth.
Yeah, that is such a good point. And our faculty, we really have a lot to contribute to their hard work, because when COVID hit, we were prepared for the virtual modality. We have online programs, and even looking back pre-COVID, LSUA was already leaning in to that online environment. And there was a lot of hesitancy, as with any big change. And you look at, especially even now with AI, that's another big pivot for our industry. Online education was a huge pivot in the education world. And our LSUA faculty were like, no, we're going for it. If that's an opportunity for us to grow, we're here and we're going to try hard. And they did, and they've executed. So when COVID hit, a lot of other universities were really at a disadvantage, and starting from scratch, we already had the setup. We just had to, make the change and get our on-campus students switched over. And so that definitely has helped us. And online has continued to grow. And I think what really sets LSUA apart and what we're so proud of, it is our on-campus faculty, our faculty right here in Alexandria, Louisiana, with the expertise, with their PhD, with their industry experience, who are teaching both on campus and online. A lot of those large online programs, those faculty aren't necessarily within the university. They may be adjuncts or from all over the country, and they may still be qualified, right, to teach that content, to teach that course, but they don't necessarily have that same dedication to the university, that same dedication to the quality of the education, and that's where LSUA differs. It is the same faculty right here on campus that are teaching our online students all over the country, all over the world. But I will say most of our online students are right here in the state of Louisiana. About 70% of them are in the state of Louisiana, furthering their education to be, ready for the workforce.
That's fascinating.
So for the enrollment, how many are online versus on campus?
So last year we were about 50-50, 50% online, 50% on campus, but the rate of growth is definitely higher in the online. So we're teetering to more online than on campus as we look towards the future. And at LSUA, we have about 800 to 1,000 dual enrollment students. And we're seeing a big push for dual enrollment through the Board of Regents. More high schools are wanting to increase their dual. And it's an amazing opportunity for high school students to be chipping away at that collegiate credit. And, when you look at the cost benefit, it's amazing. It's quite the bargain that they get at that dual enrollment rate. And then they can, come into college with credits. And if you're a TOPS eligible student, you can save a year of TOPS even and use that for graduate school, professional school, dental school, med school. And when you look at that value, it can really blow your mind.
Absolutely. So student engagement for your online students, what does that program look like?
So we've really worked in, like we mentioned, same faculty that teach our online students. It's our same advisors. So we're still reaching out to those students. We've looked at organizations and clubs for our online students, doing virtual meetings, hopping onto Zoom calls, and they like to, kind of have that connection. We've even grown in kind of sending out the LSUA brand. Like they want to wear LSUA. And so making sure that they have access to those things as well. So it is a unique experience, but we're definitely trying to find ways where they still connect with LSUA and are proud that LSUA is their university.
I think that's great. Yeah, you don't think about them wanting to don the swag and have that connection.
I think one of the things that really impressed me was back during a basketball game when they acknowledged the student athletes who were on the dean's list.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And the GPA of the student athletes at LSUA, I think, is the highest in the Red River Athletic Conference.
It is in the NAIA, in the conference, a 3.26 average GPA for athletes. And so it just gives you chills because they are winning and doing so amazing in their athletic program. But I think what we all agree is the most important, right, is that they're going to be graduating and prepared for their career down the road, and that GPA is definitely the right sign.
So they do this, I think it was the halftime of a game, Sandra, and they acknowledge, the officials had to extend the halftime because there were so many This is bigger than a homecoming celebration. It was huge, the number of students and what that speaks of is that, it's not a sports meal, even though incredibly proficient in sports. These young people are really taking their academic life seriously, and obviously the professors and coaches are as well. And so if a student gets entrusted to LSUA, there's a whole infrastructure around them to make sure they're successful.
Yes, we have an amazing athletic director, Tyler Unsicker, and he has a great group of coaches, and they are so invested in these students. I'm texting constantly with the coaches, hey, this student isn't quite acting like himself. Can someone check on him? And I have a counselor call that day. We are invested in these students. We care about these students and their academic performance. They know that expectation when they get there. They know that is just as important as coming to practice. If not more important than coming to practice. You will be in class. We have a lot of coaches say, you better sit in the front 2 rows. That, you're not just going, you're sitting in the front, your phone won't be out, and you're focused. You look at Cashy Nat, was named 2-time All-American, NAIA Men's Basketball Player of the Year, and he's going to be walking across the stage in a few weeks as an LSUA graduate.
I was really hoping that we could get another year of eligibility.
I know, right? Maybe I should go change some of those grades real quick. No, I'm teasing. We're so proud of him, but it's you get to know these students, you get to know their parents at the games. We kind of all have your spots. Funny how we're like creatures of habit. You sit in the same spot on the bleachers at every game, so you get to know the players, their parents, their family who come and support them, and it is a great environment. And I was just talking out in the lobby. I mean, it is some family fun to come to those games, and we have so many community members come to support the Generals that don't necessarily have an immediate connection to LSUA. They don't have a student, and their kid doesn't attend there, their kid's not on the court, but they're coming with their kids just to watch, and it is such a great environment. So if you haven't been, I definitely encourage you, come to the fort. We pack it out. And if anything, there's always a fun rivalry with our neighbors across the river, LCU, the Red River rivalry, and those are really, really fun games.
Well, if you want to see Dr. Carell, go to the fort, because he's there almost every single game.
Dr. Carell and his wife is the number one fan, so Miss Arlene kills it. She's awesome. She's so funny. Sometimes we have to separate her from the refs. I'm just kidding. But we get into the games. Obviously, we care so much about these students, and we get into it. But it's a great environment. So if you haven't been, definitely come to the fort and check it out.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to take our first break of this hour, and when we come back, we're going to hear about some exciting campus edge development taking place this summer at LSUA.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
Brought to you by the Obesity Medicine Association. Millions of Americans have turned to innovative GLP-1 medications to manage the symptoms of chronic conditions, including diabetes and obesity. While name-brand medications were in shortage, the FDA temporarily allowed the production of compounded versions. Now that the shortage is over, enforcement action is needed to ensure patients have continued access to safe and FDA-approved versions of these vital medications. Dr. Lydia Alexander with the Obesity Medicine Association.
The Obesity Medicine Association is the largest organization of physicians, physician associates, and nurse practitioners working daily to improve the lives of patients affected by obesity. There are a lot of questions about what to do now if you've been taking compounded GLP-1 medications.
To learn more about obesity care and FDA-approved medications available, visit www.obesitymedicine.org.
Craving mouth-watering barbecue and juicy steaks? Head on over to Cole's Barbecue and Steakhouse, the top barbecue and steakhouse in Alexandria. Our warm and welcoming atmosphere is the perfect setting for a night out with friends or a family dinner. Indulge in our premium barbecue and steaks, fresh salads, and handcrafted burgers. Come as you are, we're ready to serve you. Visit Cole's Barbecue and Steakhouse today on Coliseum Boulevard across from the Rapides Parish Coliseum. Expect real good food.
Jeff Landry is working hard to bring down outrageous insurance costs. Jeff is holding both trial lawyers and insurance companies accountable because they are both to blame. Last year, Governor Landry signed 27 bills to fix insurance and fight lawsuit abuse. This year, Governor Landry is fighting for more to stop frivolous lawsuits, stop uninsured drivers from suing, and end trial lawyer ads that promote a culture of suing. Landry listened to insurance companies and signed into law nearly every bill they promised would drive rates down. Well, insurance broke their promise and rates went up. Now Landry is trying something new. Hold insurance companies accountable when rates go up. Our insurance commissioner should have the power to reject their rate hikes when they rake in billions in profit. To learn about Governor Landry's plan to fix our insurance crisis, visit fixthecrisis.la. Paid for by Protect Louisiana Values.
Think about gambling all the time? Feel the need to bet more and more? Try to win back your money? These are warning signs of a gambling problem. Get free confidential support 24/7 from the Louisiana Problem Gamblers Helpline. Call or text 1-877-770-STOP or chat online at helpforgambling.org. A message from the Louisiana Department of Health, Office of Behavioral Health.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Talkline at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
And we're back. Sandra McQueen, Nathan Martin. Joining us in the studio is Dr. Abbey Bain, the Vice Chancellor of Enrollment and Student Engagement with LSU of Alexandria. We've been talking about the university's continued growth, and with great growth comes great need. And you all have a very big Campus Edge development project that will break construction this summer.
Yes, ma'am. So we have been growing on campus. We have a great residential complex, apartments for students, and we've had occupancy around 250 that can live on campus. And the last 4 to 5 years, we have had an extensive wait list. And especially last year, we had well over 100 students who wanted to live on campus that could not get a bed. And I know a number of those didn't enroll at LSUA at all because they needed that housing. As you know, where we are located, it's surrounded by agricultural fields. We're very close to the Ag Center and Extension office. And so with that, there's not too much right around for students to live close by and walk or bike to their classes. So we have joined with a private partner, a developer, who will break ground this summer on a new apartment complex on our campus edge. And we could not be more excited to get this project going. It's a huge need and demand for students, and we know that it's going to be a huge success.
Fantastic. So as most people have probably heard in the community, the location for the housing will be on part of what is now the golf course.
Yes.
And a very, difficult, but I know strategic decision by the university to take advantage of that land and continue to support the growth.
Absolutely. Anytime you make a decision to for a big change, like a golf course closure, for example, there's a lot of thought and, factors that come in. We take it very seriously. We did a feasibility study a few years ago, actually, and found that it would be, successful for a residential complex as well as for other businesses, retail and dining. And one of the big challenges that we hear from our students through, campus surveys or, feedback in student government is we want more to do around campus. We want to be able to walk to places. We want restaurants. We want this. And we want to create that vibrancy. I think that's the next chapter in the LSUA story, is really creating that vibrant 4-year university experience. And so the long-term goal is to have more development on this golf course. We're very excited for the apartments. That is definitely the highest demand, the biggest need with our housing wait list, and for us to continue to recruit and be aggressive in getting more students to LSUA. But we are certainly hoping that the next step is really developing more dining, retail, and what people may not even realize, with 3170 meeting Highway 71, that intersection with the yellow blinking light where the Why Not stop is located, that is one of the highest traffic counts. It's over 15,000 cars travel that intersection every day. It's in the top 5 traffic counts of intersections in Rapides Parish. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, for there to be a coffee, kolache, donut, type thing for people in the morning on that morning commute from 3170, or to grab groceries or dinner on their way home in the afternoon as well. So
That is very, very exciting. So the apartments, it's a private partnership. Will the university handle leasing? Will that be the private partner? Are they guaranteed for the students, or how will that work?
So it is going to be privately operated. So they will handle the leases, but it will obviously be on LSUA, on that golf course property. Our campus security is going to continue to help with campus safety. We've been the safest university in the state for many years. We refuse to let that change. It will be priority for students and then faculty and staff. And so the goal is to have the complex completely LSUA family, LSUA affiliated. And if there's still vacancies, then we're going to look at letting community also have access. But we're going to prioritize our LSUA constituents and then make sure that LSUA students are always grouped together, right? Making sure that one apartment next to the other is going to be LSUA students, and that prioritizing that as much as we can.
This may be too much in the weeds, but will financial aid still be available to help with cost of living there?
That is such a good question. So since it will not be a traditional residential life item on their fee bill, they wouldn't necessarily have financial aid to directly contribute, but they could use any of their grants and loans, obviously, to help pay for their lease. Right, it's not directly.
Gotcha.
And
is there a mix of 1, 2, 3, 4 bed? What are the?
Yep, it's all 2 bedrooms, and we've seen that be the highest demand on campus right now. We have 1, 2, and 4 bedroom apartments. And 2s seem to be the highest in demand, and so that's what it'll be, all 2-bedroom apartments, and it'll add about 370 beds.
That's amazing.
Once the complex is complete.
So with the complex, is this like a 20-year, 30-year concession, and then the actual complex belongs to the university since it's on university land?
Yes, there is a long-term lease agreement, and I believe between 40 and 50 years, then the land will come back, or the property will come back to LSUA.
Well, I've toured the facilities that you have. My daughter wants to go to LSUA, and you have great facilities. This will double your capacity for on-campus living.
It absolutely will. And we have a lot of students right now who do live in town in Alexandria. They didn't necessarily want to live in the Oaks again. They did that their freshman or their sophomore year, and they're ready for a little bit more maturity, maybe a little bit more being independent. They lived in Alexandria, but it's hard for that commute. Not all of them have cars. And we are getting more out-of-state students. We have 90 international students right now. But so if they don't have vehicles, they're having to carpool with people or get a ride. So having something right here definitely helps alleviate that burden. So I think not only will it be our overflow or our wait list from the Oaks, it's going to be students who already live in town will want to live closer to LSUA and take advantage of access, being on the proximity. We mentioned engagement and the different events that we're doing. A lot of those happen at night, and students may not necessarily be driving back just to attend trivia or the concert on the quad. But if they live right there, they're going to walk over and be a part of it. And so I think it's going to create a lot more opportunity for our quote-unquote commuter students to be on campus and then be a part of that fun environment, get more connected, and it's easier to do the study group, go to the library, all the great things that we hope for our students. This is really going to be a great building block for us.
Absolutely. Well, and this idea of student engagement, what I think is so important and what you have done exceptionally well in your work at LSUA is your retention, because you see so many times you'll have big enrollment in August, and especially after the Christmas break, they just don't come back. They get home, they've been homesick, and those engagement activities are designed not only for their academic success, but to make sure they stay in school. And you all have held your numbers and typically are bucking the trend by seeing increases in enrollment in the spring semesters.
Yes. And our fall to spring retention of freshmen was 90%, which is amazing for a regional university. Yes. Those are numbers you really see at flagships or R1s, high research intensive universities. And so to have that retention rate truly demonstrates these students feel supported and they feel connected. And in my position as an advocate for students, there's nothing else you would want more, right? We want them to know that we care about them and that they are connected to this university, and they know that they're going to be successful. And so we are seeing higher and higher retention rates each and every year. We've been working on that. We've been very methodical and additional support through advising to do that. So to see the numbers pay off, it's really rewarding. And, it's not about us, it's about the students. And if they're staying and they're being more successful, if they can stay in Cenla or in this state to contribute to the workforce, we could not be more thrilled.
Well, our guest this morning has been Dr. Abbey Bain, again, Vice Chancellor of Enrollment and Student Engagement at LSU of Alexandria. Dr. Bain, thank you for joining us this morning. Always a delight to have you in the studio, and congratulations on all your success.
Thank y'all so much for having me. Thank you.
Great, and we'll be back right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Futures point to a rebound at the opening bell as investors consider progress on trade talks and await earnings from Tesla. Despite the move higher this morning, the conversation on Wall Street is still centered on the implications of any White House effort to replace Fed Chair Jay Powell. And that hit stocks yesterday. The Dow and the NASDAQ each fell by around 2.5%. The S&P 500 was down almost 2.4%. President Donald Trump met with major retailers at the White House as business executives seek relief from sweeping tariffs. Sources tell Bloomberg News that the meeting included representatives from Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, and Target. And some of the retailers involved described the meeting as productive. The discussion came amid a 90-day pause in Trump's higher tariffs on trading partners except China. Verizon reported a larger than expected drop in mobile phone subscribers in the first quarter, the result of heavy competition and less spending by government agencies. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Starting a business can be overwhelming, especially when you do it alone. Don't do it alone. Take control of your future with a Janny King Gulf Coast franchise. With Janny King, you get guaranteed initial growth, reliable operational support, and ongoing education to set you up for success. Janny King has built a proven system that gives you the tools to take control of your future confidently and with the support you need to thrive. The future is yours today at JannyKingCleans.com.
Janny King, the king of clean.
Listen to the all-new Central Louisiana Economic Update with Matt Ritchie every other Tuesday morning on KSYL Talk Radio 970 AM, 104.9 FM, and KSYL.com.
It's the first day of the first grade as you found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon, you wish would never end. The homemade taste of bluebells and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
Chocolate lovers are going absolutely bananas over our new Bluebell Banana Fudge. Rich milk chocolate ice cream swirled with a scrumptious banana-flavored ice cream. Your favorite banana fudge bar, now in a carton.
The good old days are being made right now. The good old days are being made right now.
Good morning, cloudy skies to start us out on this Tuesday, followed by the possibility of some scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. About a 60% chance of that afternoon. High temps near 82. Increasing cloudiness overnight tonight. We'll see temperatures getting down to about 65 degrees. And then cloudy skies on Wednesday. A few showers developing late in the afternoon. The high's only 77. From the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Big Ration. Currently 71 degrees in Cenla.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
And we're back. That might help just a little bit. Well, let's see. Always great to have Dr. Bain in the studio. Just such a delight. And as we said, the kind of young professional, young family we're excited to have in this community. Dr. Bain's originally from Atlanta, and she said we would keep raising cute farmers. We'd attract more young ladies into this community. So
that was great.
That was a great line. I'm sorry you all didn't hear that on air. And just a few technical things. They're still working to correct the app. It's just in a mood today, so Dave Gratian is on that. And then if you're Facebook Live, for some reason my camera froze. Thank goodness I had a even though I had a look of looking to the sky a little bit, at least it could have been worse. So I was frozen.
Easter rapture.
There you go. That's what it looks like. But Dr. Bain kept going, so we think we've fixed cameras. So we just keep rolling.
That's right.
Right along this morning. So
Oh Man River just keeps on rolling. Did you ever sing that song in chorale?
I did not, but I am familiar with that song, and that was a big song. So Memphis always has a big Memphis in May.
Oh, I'm sure.
Celebration with the barbecue festival is sort of the highlight of that. But the last weekend, Memorial Day weekend, the symphony would do a huge concert there on the bluffs overlooking the Mississippi, and we had a gentleman in the community, and the big finale was he was an African-American gentleman, beautiful vocalist, and he would do Oh Man River while we're all sitting there on the Mississippi, and encore after encore, and it was just I still get chill bumps. It was just one of those great iconic Memphis moments.
We had and when I was in high school choir 40 plus years ago at Pineville High School, that was one of the songs we did, and when you get the bass singer to do that, it resonates.
Yeah, I'd like to hear Matt try that song.
Oh, I would love to hear him give it a shot.
Yeah, with that baritone bordering voice. I would love to do that, but he says I have to pay him to sing, so I refuse to do so. So
I want to get him back for another Christmas episode.
We should do that. That was fun.
A year and a half ago.
That was a lot of fun with your guitar, and that was a lot of fun. It was all impromptu.
Right.
We were just making it up as we went along, and no practice.
He and I had never played before together. He's got an amazing voice.
Thank you.
And you do too. You really have a lovely voice.
Thank you. Mine's a little more of a dime store karaoke. He's the real talent. So, but we'll get him home middle of May. So we're getting close. We just figured out the what do we do with our stuff, because it's like you can only bring 2 bags on the plane, and they have this wonderful system. It's basically like 2 guys in a truck, but for colleges, especially in the Northeast where they're very much an urban environment. So you place an order, they send you all your boxes, and then they have certain days they pick up, they come to your dorm room, pick up everything you want to store for the summer, take it to their storage facilities, and then you schedule the return date when you check back into the dorm, and they literally deliver it to your room. So you're not schlepping the stuff up the elevator, down the elevator, or upstairs and downstairs, and it's a pickup and storage and delivery service, and it's fabulous. And it's very reasonably priced. You pay by the box, so you might pay $15 for a box for 4 months. I mean, it's very reasonable.
That really is.
But that includes the pickup and the delivery and all the supplies.
Well, that just goes to show where I think Dave Gresham will often talk. Not Dave Gresham, Dave Dagerpont will often talk about the free market's going to create spaces and it's going to create opportunities. And so somebody had a brilliant idea, and now there's a whole industry around that.
Yeah, well, and you have to remember 40% of his school are international students. They're violinists, they're vocalists. They come from all over the world to study conducting and opera and everything else. And so it's not easy to ship and move your things. And they'll even provide, if you don't want to store, they'll actually provide the pickup service and do the shipping for you if you want to ship your things home.
The talent that he's surrounded by has got to be pretty impressive.
It is, yes. I think I said the first day I went there, I was like, oh, I hope we're supposed to be here, because I was like, I don't think we sound like that. There's some, I was like, I remember distinctly John going, I don't know, maybe in over our head here,
but he's sprouting his wings, and he
is absolutely a lot of fun in that city, especially in spring. He said they spent the whole day on Riverside Park there, up in the northern part of the island, just had a blast, played tennis, went on the jogging trails, just had a great weekend. So for Easter.
That's terrific.
All right, well, let's go to the phones. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
I'm changing the subject.
Please.
There's 2 sets there about insurance.
I'm sorry, caller, you cut out so badly. We missed half of what you said. Can you say it again?
Okay. 2 ads about insurance.
Okay.
One by Governor Landry, and another purportedly, I guess, I don't know who it is, but they say we have insurance is too high. It's the dastardly lawyers. Okay, my question is, who is paying for those ads?
That is a good question. I'd have to sort of try to catch the ad and look at the disclaimer if there is one at the end.
I know the Landry one, it has a PAC that's paying for it. I don't know who that is. So those are great questions, and we'll try to make note of that and see if we can figure that out.
Yeah, it seems like to me that if they're putting up that much money, either the insurance companies or the trial lawyers are putting up that money.
I would tend to think you are correct, but as Nathan said, we'll have to try to catch the ads disclaimers and see what we can dig into about the PACs or the associations that are paying for them. But I mean, the big point is, and you are correct, there is a whole lot of money at stake in this debate beyond what the ratepayers are being charged.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for your call. So, yes, maybe we'll try to find that. We may not have an answer on that until later in the week. We'll have to pull that up. Of course, you're on the show Thursday. Maybe you'll figure it out before then.
NOLA has a story about an education ad that's running as Governor Landry seeks nearly $94 million for a program to subsidize private education.
Yeah, the Gator ads. I've seen those.
Yeah, so Club for Growth is a national group that's backing that one, the Gator Scholarship Program, but it doesn't talk about the insurance. We'll try to find that out. I know we got to take a break, and we'll do some digging between now and next time on.
More Talkback right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
When the heat and humidity hit central Louisiana, keep the fun sizzling while staying cool. Bounce into excitement at our indoor trampoline park and play centers. Cool off at local area arcades, or immerse yourself in creativity at downtown art and children's museums. Beat the heat and savor the flavors at our local restaurants. Your taste buds will thank you. Strike up some fun. Hit the lanes for some cool bowling adventure. And for more cool ideas, go to AlexandriaPinebellLA.com.
Attention all real estate agents, property owners, and lenders. When you or a client needs a real estate attorney, call the professionals at Thompson Law Firm. Whether the legal matter is basic or complex, the Thompson Law Firm can accurately guide you or your client to a successful outcome. That's why numerous industry professionals have trusted the Thompson Law Firm for years. They also handle estate planning, successions, and business law. Call them at 473-0052. I am a paid non-client attorney spokesperson.
Got a big day ahead of you? Then it's best to fuel up with some of Sinla's best at Bricato's restaurant. Walk right in and just smell that home-style cooking. Place your order, take a seat, and do breakfast right till 9:30 this morning. Get fresh biscuits, eggs any way you like them, melt-in-your-mouth pancakes, grits, hash browns, sausage, bacon, even wraps and sandwiches. And don't forget their fresh brewed coffee. Bricato's Restaurant, 28 West, right across from the Coliseum. Your breakfast is waiting for you.
Families are talking about University View Academy, a proven K-12 online education for families across Louisiana.
UVA is K-12 online, tuition-free learning. It's not homeschool. Olivia and Wyatt are able to attend live sessions online with Louisiana certified teachers, and then I can reinforce what they are learning here at home.
My kids are able to work ahead at their own pace, and they'll earn a valuable college credit.
Learn more and enroll at universityview.academy/Louisiana.
There's no place like Sinla.
Saturday, April 26th is Earth Day at the Alexandria Zoo. Let's team up to protect our planet. Enjoy keeper chats, activities, crafts, and demonstrations. Get the details at thealexandriazoo.com.
Have an outstanding day on Bulow Lake Saturday, May 3rd as the Alexandria Museum of Art's Louisiana Dragon Boat Races return. Catch all the action, support a great cause, and bring the whole family. Admission is free.
Give Mama Rose this Mother's Day. Stop by the Alexandria Mall at noon Saturday, May 10th near the food court and pick one up for free. Compliments of House of Flowers and the mall, while supplies last.
Join us downtown Saturday, May 17th as we spread some joy in Hollyfest Senla 2025. Tamp and Grind on 4th Street hosts this wonderful family event. Learn more at Hollyfest Senla on Facebook.
Senlaw Broadcasting, promoting true hometown pride.
Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
And we're back. Sandra McQueen, Nathan Martin, and for the last, 10 minutes of the show, of course, we have open lines, our BOM Bank Talkline, 318-442-8255. 442-8255. So a story I was just telling you about, which you had not seen, is that Republican insiders are buzzing over talk. So U.S. Representative Julia Letlow is seriously considering whether to challenge U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy's reelection next year.
Wow. We already have a former statewide guy running in there,
John Fleming, our state treasurer.
So maybe people see a weakness they want to go after.
Well, and
Julie would have to give up her seat to run. Fleming would not.
She would. That is correct. And of course, there's been talk about Blake Miguez out of New Iberia. And we've heard from a lot of legislators they are very interested in him considering a run, and then Eric Skermita, who is a member of the PSC. But relative to Congresswoman Letlow challenging Bill Cassidy, Governor Landry said in a brief interview that he had discussed Letlow's possible candidacy with Cassidy, but would not say anything else other than he is not recruiting her. And this is a story from The Advocate, by the way, that I'm reading excerpts from. And so we'll see. Evidently, they talked to Eddie Risponi, who said that he talked to Letlow's senior campaign advisor, and over the weekend, after hearing that she's considering making a bid, he said they're concentrating now on her reelection, and she has a lot on her plate with the president getting bills approved. Risponi said he told her political director he's sticking with Cassidy.
Really?
And so, and it looks like several Republicans have said that. That's very interesting. One note in the article quoted a political science professor from ULM that said that Letlow has earned a reputation during her 4 years in office as being attentive to her district, and she's a reliable vote for Speaker Johnson, but hasn't engaged in ideological fights, and they think it would be a wild card. And, the Republican Party censured Cassidy after the impeachment vote, and, what would that look like in a primary is kind of interesting. And then within the Louisiana legislature, I don't know if you've seen the bill that would dissolve the independent party registration in this state. So if you're registered as an independent, that is technically a party, which would prohibit you from voting in either of the Republican or Democratic parties. What I did not realize is if you are registered as no party, you could actually vote in a partisan primary.
I didn't know that.
What the bill says, that no party could select to vote in Republican or Democratic, which to me makes things interesting for Bill Cassidy if the article I read is correct.
That's fascinating because I've been no party since the 1990s, and I had to research it back then because you think independent, and I found out that there is an independent party, and so I chose the no party route. I didn't realize that I might have the option of selecting a primary. That's huge.
Which is new in Louisiana with, and not all the primaries, at one time, I think you were here and we had a caller that said, they're only for federal, but there are certain state elections, not governor, but certain state elections that also will have primaries.
Including Supreme Court.
And PSC.
Which is why they had to have that one amendment that failed to change the elections of the Supreme Court.
Absolutely. Well, let's take our last break of the hour, and we'll see if we have any reaction from the phones on the Julia Letlow information right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
All of us have that one friend who can just light up the room with a smile. And sadly, how many of us are just a little bit envious of that friend? Well, here's the good news. The folks over at Today's Dental in Pineville can deliver that beautiful beaming smile. Over the years, hundreds of hopeful patients have visited and been completely satisfied. They've made getting dental implants an amazingly simple, low-anxiety procedure, one that's affordable for anyone's budget. The staff at Today's Dental go out of their way to make you feel comfortable with calming in-office IV sedation that's administered by a highly skilled, certified nurse anesthetist. And their multiple finance options make the entire procedure truly affordable. Isn't it your turn to light up that room? Give Today's Dental a call at 448-4540. It's a general dental facility on Highway 28 East in Pineville, owned by Dr. Jonas Gauthier. That's 448-4540.
William Shakespeare's Macbeth, Act 5, Scene 1.
Ouch, dang spot! Ouch, I say!
It seems Lady Macbeth is having difficulties removing a troublesome spot.
Fie, my lord, fie!
life.
Perhaps she should take that spot to Craig's Cleaners. At Craig's, tough stains are no problem. Finicky, hard-to-clean fabrics are no problem, too. Professional dry cleaning, dependable service.
Craig's Cleaners, 1746 Elliott Street, 1305 Metro Drive, or Highway 28 East at the Pineville Expressway.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is Secretary of State Nancy Landry. The Heritage Foundation ranks Louisiana second in the nation for election integrity. This further confirms that our elections are safe and secure. As a reminder, important deadlines are quickly approaching ahead of the May 3rd election. Visit govote.com, that's GEAUX vote.com, or download the free GoVote mobile app to find important election information. And remember to go vote, Louisiana.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
And we're back. Last hour, last segment of the last hour. So before we were, again, talking about the potential of Congresswoman Letlow challenging Bill Cassidy, but I was talking to you about a bill in the legislature that caught my attention, and there was an article in the Louisiana Illuminator, and what this bill would do. And I would tell you, I went to bed pretty mad about this last night. I should never do show prep right before I lay my head on a pillow. But the proposal is House Bill 166, and it would exempt the entirety of an LSU athlete's NIL income from state taxes. Now, I guess it would be any athlete, but primarily this is targeted for LSU. It's been drafted by an LSU alum, and they're basically saying LSU's athletes can't compete in the NIL bills with states like Texas, which don't have an income tax. And so they want to completely take that out of consideration, and I am livid about this. I have to pay more in sales tax. Can I just change my work to saying it's an NIL because I MC conferences, and can I have no income taxes? I mean, this is ridiculous.
And you said, is it LSU only? Or is it any student, like high school kids are getting NIL deals now?
It just says would exempt the entirety of NIL income. Obviously, it's very focused on LSU. And the bill's author is Dixon McMacken, who's a Republican from Baton Rouge. And he said the measure is appropriate in light of the economic impact athletes have on the state. LSU athletics generated $500 million for the state in the 21-22 academic year, according to a university study. Well, I'd love to know how I benefit from that. And I'm sitting here going, so what do? We're going to exempt them from the income tax for the NIL, and we're not going to carve anything back when they choose to sit out a bowl game because it doesn't have any implications for a national championship. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I'll tell you who's really having a fit over this are graduate students who are responsible, unlike athletes, they're responsible for their own housing, their own meals, their own health care. For their tuition, they're required to teach classes and work on their professors' research projects. And nobody is exempting their meager stipend from income tax. And the bill sponsor said, well, if they can present evidence of their economic impact, I'll happily include them in the bill, to which the LSU research division said, well, we put $1.3 billion of economic impact, which is almost 3 times your athlete.
Wow. Well, the slapback is strong right there. And I agreed with. And it's a slap in the face.
Well, and I agree with everyone who said this policy is bad tax. This person that was quoted, Jan Mueller, said it's conservatives who will always say that we shouldn't pick winners and losers with our tax policy. What is this if not picking winners and losers?
Right. Well, I'm just catching up on that article from the Illuminator, and that is, I don't see that going over well. Now, there's a companion bill supposedly that will exempt the first $12,500, but
that's our deduction.
That's already there. So why is that going to be an additional deduction for them on top of the standard deduction? Or you see what I'm saying? It is creating this whole two-class tier system that.
Yes, but that is just unacceptable. And, Alabama has an income tax, all these other states, and I have yet to hear, I'm just drawing a blank. I can see the coach, and I just drew a blank on LSU's coach, football coach, but I've not heard him say, our state income tax. Kelly. Yeah, Brian Kelly saying our state income tax is killing my ability to recruit athletes.
I don't think so. I don't think that's killing recruitment very much. I can't imagine it would have much of an impact. I did see later in the story that there's a bill to make American athletics great again that would prohibit athletic departments from giving more than 25% of their scholarships to international students, but LSU only gives 23%, so it's almost like a why?
Well, but McNeese, ULM, UNO, they're all above that 25% rate. LSUA may be, but it would be any university.
Okay.
So anyway, lots we need to keep our eyes on happening in Baton Rouge as the session really starts to gear up for week 2. So we will continue, as we always do, to keep an eye on things and do our best to keep you informed. Well, Nathan, have a great rest of your week. And I don't know.
See you when I see you.
Well, I'll see you when I see you, because I've got some days off next week. All right, you guys have a great day, and Al and Trish will take the reins tomorrow.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenlaw Broadcasting. FM 104.9, AM 970, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3 HD3, Alexandria. It's 9 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. The International Monetary Fund is out with a report warning President Trump's tariffs will have a